If you run a company or manage a team, hiring qualified people quickly can make or break your business. Imagine a position of need going unfilled for weeks or even months because you just can't seem to find the right candidate. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people you want faster. This makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results on your job post. Just in the last minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Now that is fast. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. Listeners will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Go to Indeed.com/BWN right now to support this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark, though it is mid-afternoon here. It's Josh Bowe and Kirk Henderson. We're coming to you at about 5:15 here on Sunday night, February 2nd. The Dallas Mavericks just got boat raced by the Cleveland Cavaliers, 144-101. The Mavericks were down by 50 points in the first half. It's one of the most embarrassing games I've had to watch.
They were down 50-19 at the end of the first quarter, the worst first quarter deficit in franchise history.
Mm-hmm. How you doing, Josh?
Man, what a weird weekend.
Well, here's what we're going to do.
I'm sorry.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this game briefly because there's not much to say. And then we're going to talk about all the other bullshit that we were served today. Last night I was shocked and sad, and that's transitioned over into incandescent rage at what's transpired here. And we're going to talk about it, and I'm not going to be nice. I've been shit on by local media people for years for the fact that I dared criticize this organization. And if this organization, particularly Nico Harrison, doesn't end up losing his job over this at some point, I will be surprised. This is we're going to circle back to this. So the Dallas Mavericks were down. They had a pretty ridiculous starting lineup. Dante, Klay Thompson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyler Kelly, and Omax. All 10 guys that were available played. Like, kid was just trying anything that he could. But down PJ Washington, Dan Gafford, and Kyrie Irving on top of the other injuries. Yeah. It was bleak. The Mavericks were simply unable to connect on any shots. They were 9 of 43 from three, whereas the Cavs were 26 of 45. At one point, they were shooting close to 70% from three-point range.
They shot better on threes than twos.
The game was over halfway through the first quarter. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I watched it super closely because, we've been talking about lots of other stuff, but this is just the sort of game where, you knew that they were probably going to lose it coming into it. You see before the game, even moving aside from the Luka Doncic trade, this felt like a game where these guys might have all sat anyways.
Yeah.
Happening. And so it was kind of a scheduled loss before anything else. They looked disinterested in the huddles. There was lots of pictures of body language. This was a game where the Mavs packed it up early, and I don't think there's really a ton to say about the game itself. Did you get to see any of it?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch 1 minute of the game. As if you guys listened to me last night, we're both kind of going through it outside of work. Our households are are in chaos right now. I was in a doctor's office for most of this game, so. But I'll be honest, I don't. Yeah,
hopefully you not getting sick.
Yeah, I was okay. Yeah, clean bill of health. No, she's got a virus, but no COVID, no flu, no pneumonia. So that's the biggest win of my weekend. It has nothing to do with the Mavs. But I want to be honest, Kirk. I don't think I would have watched. If I was at home and my daughter was healthy and I had the house to myself, like I don't think I would have watched. Frankly, this result was I don't know if it would have been this bad, but they, like you said, they were going to lose this game no matter what happened last night.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't. There's a certain part where it's like you have to respect your time, right? Even though this is kind of this is a job for us. Like we do get financially compensated to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of it where I don't know. Like if the Mavericks aren't going to respect my time, why should I respect theirs? In a sense, like I felt like they got a 24-hour, moratorium period or whatever. Like I could not watch them. I just couldn't. I didn't want to watch the pregame. I didn't want to watch the broadcast. Kudos to Mark Followell for looking like every Mavs fan I've talked to in the last 24 hours.
Very representative.
But I just didn't want to have, the pregame. They're trying to. It's not their fault. I'm trying to say I can't emphasize this enough. It is not their fault. They have to try to talk about the positives. But I just didn't want to hear. I just didn't want to hear that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even like fan mad. It's just it's just so bad that I just didn't want. I just kind of needed to detox from it and get away from it. And so I spent that time in a doctor's office. So I can't. I can't offer more. Yeah.
I was up till 4:30 in the morning editing our 3.5 hour long recap show, which if you have not checked that out, I would appreciate it. There's a CBS story probably coming out tomorrow about the fan reaction to this, where the writer is an old friend of mine, James Herbert, and he kind of called and interviewed me and we talked about this. And I just said, the reason I do these sorts of shows is because fandom should not be a thing you do alone. If you're able to turn this off and just ignore it, then I envy you. But we spend so much of our time on this that I really want people to feel like they have a voice and feel like that they're not going through this sort of stuff alone. It sounds a little melodramatic, but guys, we spend all this time on this and we care. And what has been blindingly evident over the last 6 hours of today is, do you know who does not care and does not respect us?
The front office of the Dallas Mavericks, or at least the leader of the front office of the Dallas Mavericks.
Manager Nico Harrison does not have respect for fans. He does not appreciate how his salary gets paid. He thinks he knows better than everyone else. And I think right now we should sort of talk about the press conference, because they held a press conference today. And, it's funny. JB in the chat says Jason Kidd looked so smug. We're going to talk about Jason Kidd because I interpreted a lot of Jason Kidd as being like, oh, fuck. There's always smugness to Jason Kidd. That's his sort of modus operandi. He sits there in that just his look. He looks like that all the time. Whereas Nico Harrison started that press conference sweating bullets, and he cracked a joke. You know who's the joke? Him. Because I think he didn't understand just how bad the trade he made was. That's my take. Because he got flambéed by every single reasonable, well-intentioned, well-known media outlet or media person in America, save one. Do you want to know the one person who thought that Nico Harrison cooked?
Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick fucking Perkins. Bumbling, stumbling, rumbling, clutches little bitch boy. He's out there saying, this is a great trade, blah, 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 blah. Everyone else skewered the Mavericks in some way, shape, or form. And we're going to talk about this now. Oh, Charles Barkley came out in favor of it too. Thank you, Ryan. Perfect. Perfect layers to the discourse here. Mwah. Really appreciate that. This is so. Let's back up. All right, the press conference. Tell me a little bit more about what you saw in the press conference.
It was horrific. It was horrifying. The answers. I was stunned at not only the demeanor, like our good friend Bobby Corrala made a good point about, like you just talked about, the joking about it. Didn't seem to understand the gravity of the move, even though he did say that like right after we understand the magnitude. He said that right after he joked and laughed about it.
He did not.
So it's hard to take him seriously there. So
he thinks this was a good trade. He thinks this was a great trade.
Right. That's the thing. You know, when I went to bed the press conference was horrific because there's not much you could take from when pro sports bosses talk in public. They are talking out the side of their mouths. They're dangling keys for you to look one way while they do something another. Rarely what they say in public is what they actually mean, because, you know, if they hated a player, for the most part, they can't just be like, yeah, we traded that guy because he sucked. Like, you know, or if they're working on a deal, they can't talk about that. So you always have to take everything with a grain of salt. But considering the fact that we haven't really gotten any reporting indicating different than what he was talking about, and it's been about 24 hours, and all of the top NBA newsmakers woke up in the morning with intents of like reaching out to their sourcing and figure out what the hell just happened. Because I went to bed thinking there's more to this.
There's more to this.
Did Luka secretly be like, hey guys, I'm not signing that extension. I want to go to, because that in my head, I was like that. I almost like gaslit myself into believing that, because I couldn't accept the reality of what I heard today, which is that they just genuinely thought that he doesn't think Luka's that good and he would rather have Anthony Davis. And that's kind of what the press conference said. And there's been no side reporting saying like, oh, well, the Mavericks felt pressured because they didn't think Luka was. That hasn't happened. It's been about 24 hours. Maybe it comes out in a week or two, but I don't think so now. So
Harrison owned it in the press conference early, where he stated that Luka Doncic gave no indication either way that he would or would not sign a supermax extension, which he was eligible for this offseason. So just remember, guys, so let's back up in time. The Mavericks haven't traded Luka yet. We go forward. There's no trade of Luka. This is sort of like, just go work with me with the hypothetical. If the Mavericks reached this summer and Luka Doncic didn't sign the supermax extension, that is an indication to the Mavericks that he was not going to be there. Like, it's not, if you don't sign that thing immediately,
then he's gone. Yeah,
he's gone. And so that Nico said that he wasn't sure either way means that it is him. I don't understand, like, what sort of jujitsu does this putz think that he's doing by giving a statement to Tim McMahon, and then Tim McMahon's next tweet says, sources tell me that the Mavericks were concerned about his fitness.
Right after he tweets a quote from Nico.
Who could the source be? Could it be the guy who just talked to me, only wanted to go off the record? Like, this is like a Simpsons episode with the Watergate shit, where the guy's in the dark and then he comes out. And it's like, oh my God.
Oh.
Like, we are not dealing with super geniuses here. None of us are.
I mean, he came out and he said it felt like the primary driver of the trade was, he said, with his supermax extension and his pending free agency, we felt it was going to be a tumultuous summer and we didn't want to deal with it. We wanted to get out in front of it. And then the next follow-up was, okay, well, was Luka giving you any indications that he didn't want to be here? And he said, no. And it's like, wait, you just said you traded him because you wanted to get ahead of the chaos of him not signing a supermax or not wanting free.
That's why I think he had no idea that this would be received this way, because he's now going, oh fuck, I have to justify this after the fact.
Yeah. He basically contradicted himself, right? Like, why, if you're worried about what's going to happen with free agency and him leaving, and that you're like, okay, let's just trade him now, so we don't have to deal with a power struggle or deal with this mess. And then immediately right after, well, did Luka give you an indication he wanted to leave? No. What the fuck are you doing?
And
why are you trading him right now?
You guys, there's been lots of chatter about the Adelsons. I've got to re-emphasize this once, twice, 10,000 times. The Mavericks are a blip. They are a penny in these people's pocket full of gold bars. These are among the richest people on planet Earth. Okay. The Mavericks are a rounding error. They don't care about Luka's $350 million max over 8 years. $50 million a year is nothing to these people. They don't care. I just need to get in front of that because I'm seeing that and move stuff. And I'm just like, guys, no.
This is like in 30 Rock when Liz goes to Jack's office and he's like, Lemon, do you understand how much revenue your show, like he brings out the pie chart and it's like her show is like that big on the pie chart. It's like, that's what the Mavs are to the Adelsons.
Yeah.
And money. Yeah.
And and again, I don't want to, I need like the context of money right now. Like when you get into numbers this large, our brains aren't actually able to handle them. Like that's a human being thing. So you're looking at this and you're like, I wouldn't want to pay him $350. I bet from what I'm hearing, maybe they don't want to pay him that much either. And you know, maybe there is a concern about dedicating that much to the cap to it, but like the money itself is immaterial. Okay. Like maybe there's a team building element.
Right. That's the only part where it matters.
But it's like the money itself is immaterial. I promise you. Okay. So we're staring at this. Oh, then the other part is the move. Guys, I addressed this last night. I'm going to address it again. The NBA wants to be in like the 5th biggest market in America, which is the North Texas area where there are 8 million people. The NBA wants to expand to 2 more teams. They want there to be 32 teams. This has been highly reported. They want one of those teams to be in Las Vegas. It's not going to be the Dallas Mavericks moving to Vegas because when a new owner has to buy in, they have to pay a large fee, which is then distributed equally amongst the 30 NBA teams. So again, like this is just not like the move part. No, I could be wrong on that part. I'm at least willing to hedge on this, but I really don't feel that way about, I really feel this way about the move. That's like a non-move. Like it's just not a thing. So anyways, all right. So we're sitting here staring at this last night and or this morning and we're understanding. And let's be clear here. When they talk about fitness, I've gotten enough text messages. This is stuff I've learned from over the years. They're concerned. Like we're just going to say this out loud. There's concern about Luka's alcohol consumption. Okay. It's more than just being in physical shape. They're concerned about his drinking. This is a thing I have heard over the years. Not that he has a problem, but that the alcohol and the calories are a symbol for being unwilling to take care of his body. And so from an academic point of view, if you're trying to work yourself to how could the Mavericks want to trade one of the top 3 players in the NBA, it seems like there's been some real friction with his rehab plan. It seems like there's been some real friction with him and availability and whether they knew he was going to be available or not, like trending Kawhi style. All of these things are out there. I don't have any of this confirmed, but these are the things that you're hearing from different sourced NBA people that there were real concerns about XYZ thing.
Welcome to Nada Yada Island.
Next on Metro's Nada Yada Island podcast.
I almost fainted when the 4 new bombshells arrived. 4 free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G phones at Metro.
No way.
And finding out the 4th line is free. Oh, things got heated.
That's wild. Join Metro and get 4 free Samsung 5G phones. Only at Metro.
Plus tax. Bring 4 numbers and an ID and sign up for any Metro Flex plan. Not available currently at T-Mobile or been with Metro in the past 180 days.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't want
So that's like the academic exercise of you saying, all right, the Mavericks are looking at this saying, and if you want to get yourself to the point to where you can at least comprehend Nico's point of view, that if the guy has it, and again, I'm not condoning this whatsoever. I'm trying to get to I'm placing myself in how Nico came to this decision. That's how they came to this decision with fitness and with lack of communication. I've also heard a little bit of stuff about an argument with he and Nico. And again, there's like comments in the chat that are like, what are we talking about here? I don't disagree with any of this stuff because Luka's been a professional since he was 15. A man, he's allowed to be a man and do exactly what he wants. I'm telling you that this is the justification that the organization eventually came to. So you look at that and you go, okay, I hate that justification. Right. However,
it's a reason.
That's a reason. Then we get to the return where Nico Harrison clearly and specifically sought out a singular player who he thinks is better than Luka Doncic. That player is Anthony Davis, 32-year-old.
When you need to trade your young superstar because you're worried about his availability, who better comes to mind the picture of perfect health than Anthony Davis, who is, by the way, currently hurt.
So they trade for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, a fine player who will probably become a fan favorite with the Mavericks if there are any fans left, and a 2029 first-round pick. And somehow, in order to make something work, the Mavericks also sent Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris, and a second-round pick.
They sent a draft pick.
They sent a draft pick. This trade did not work. I'm serious about this. This trade did not work in NBA 2K.
Yeah. I think SJ said she loaded it up this morning and tried to do it, and it said nope.
So when you have the reason, which we all don't like, but we understand, we're getting okay. It's that's tangible. The reason you
can wrap our brains around it. Yeah.
And the return, those two things make this the worst trade in NBA history. My friend Curtis Harris has a doctorate. He got his doctorate on NBA history. Okay. He knows the NBA history better than the NBA itself because the NBA doesn't know how to do this stuff. He goes back to like the ABA before all this stuff. He said to me this morning that this was, without question, the worst trade in NBA history. So that is where we're coming from when this shock has turned to awe, has turned to rage, because we have this, for me, probably not for you. I think you're more just like, what the fuck? Yeah. Then we have this press conference where we're talking about, and it's like a sloppy politician who's never been asked questions before.
Yeah. I mean, starting off with the contradictory statement where it's like, you're worried about his free agency. And then you say he never gave you an indication that you want to leave. And then he ended it. And then like they asked him about, so what about like short-term, what about this trade helps you in the short term? What about the long term? And Nico was like, well, I define long-term as 4 to 5 years. And he was like, and I think someone was like, well, what about beyond that? And he said like in 10 years, we might be gone. It's like to end your presser being like, oh, I don't really care about how this turns out longer than how old these guys are, because we'll probably be fucking fired when all said is done. Like, is kind of like I almost respect the staggering amount of honesty that I think they're like, just be like, I don't care because I'll be gone. Is pretty amazing. And then the other part is they asked him why, you talk about you want to bring people in that fit the culture of the org that you're building. So then why did you feel like Luka doesn't fit in that culture? And he said, I'm not going to talk bad about a player, but he says he feels good about the players that he brought in, adding to the culture and not being, he said is like, there's a difference between players that add to the culture or are just a part of it. And he said the players we're bringing in are adding to the culture, not just being a part of it. So that was the only part of the press conference where he got close to basically saying, if you read the tea leaves, that he didn't like Luka anymore. He did not believe in him as a player that can lead the team to a title. So he found a player that he thought can. That's the trade. You don't have to like it, and I don't like it. I think it's stupid, but that's why he did it.
That's why
I don't think it's crazy conspiracy theories and all.
Yeah, I was wrong about a lot of the stuff I said last night.
I was too, because we were trying to give him the benefit of the doubt in a weird way, because he he pitched a perfect game for like 18 months and got them into the final, helped build a roster that got to the finals. And he basically flushed it all down the toilet with this move. So we were trying to grasp at, okay, well, maybe it's the Vegas thing. Maybe it's the Adelsons. Maybe it's, maybe Luka secretly wanted out and he didn't want to reveal it. If nothing else comes out from this, he thought Anthony Davis could lead the Mavericks to a championship more so than Luka Doncic. And so he traded for him. So when you then ask, well, why didn't he reach out to other teams? Well, because he didn't, in his mind, he didn't have to, because he wanted Anthony Davis. That's the player he thought was the missing link to win a title. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, why didn't he call OKC? Why didn't he call San Antonio? Why didn't he call these teams, get like 5 draft picks and like 4 really good role players? Because he didn't want that. Because he doesn't want. Why does he want draft picks? He will not be making those draft picks. Mm-hmm. He knows that.
He has
even if they win the title, he knows that he will not be making those picks, because even if they win this title and the next title, what's going to happen when Kyrie, Clay, and Davis are 36, 37 years old? Mm-hmm. The team reboots, and he will not be here for the reboot. So he doesn't care. Yeah. He thought Anthony Davis was a better a player that can help him win a championship in 2025 more than Luka Doncic, and that's why he made the trade. And you could be pissed off about that, but I am stunned waking up and ingesting all this, that's actually where this landed. I was grasping at straws that there would be something more to this, and it's not more than that.
And that's why I get immediate buyer's remorse from that press conference. Because the thing that was always important and sold to us about Nico is that he was a player's GM. He had relationships with stars around the league. People liked him as his time as a shoe guy up in Nike.
Everyone except for Steph Curry.
Everyone except for Steph Curry, which I would implore you to look into that story if you don't know what we're talking about. What he did, and like the star reaction around the NBA destroyed it.
I've never seen a league response to a trade like this before.
Well, because there's never been a trade this insane. Like Luka makes people angry. Luka elicits emotions, but every player respects him and fears him. Like there's a lot going on there. Even Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, who seem to have had tiffs with Luka, were like, what the fuck? And it's the sort of thing where by making this trade, you are telling the rest of the league there is no one that really matters. I'm sorry, he's a top 3 player. You traded one of the best players in the NBA and said that he is not good enough. Now, it comes back to your point that Nico Harrison is one of the few people that doesn't think Luka Doncic is a top 3 player in the league.
Mm-hmm. It's wild.
What are we doing?
I know.
Well,
and it's reached the point now where I feel bad. I know this is I feel bad for Anthony Davis, because there's literally nothing he can do to change how a lot of Mavs fans feel. Like if they win the title, they're not going to win the title this year. But if they won the title this year, are people happy? Like, are they happy? Like, this is a mercenary roster. There is no one on this team besides maybe Derek Lively and Dwight Powell that feel like Mavericks. Like no one, there's no continuity here at all. And and I don't know, like there's more to sports than just do you win or lose. And I understand how silly that is. And I understand that like these guys in these jobs can't always think like that, because they get paid to win. And if they don't win, they get fired. So like, it's not in their best interest to always be like, well, I got to think of the fans and I got to do what's right by the fans, even though fans are the whole reason why any of this exists. But they get judged on wins and losses. So Nico thinks that this is going to help him get wins. I mean, he generally, until something else comes out, like until, we get a report that says Luka was upset with the match, I don't know if that's going to ever come out. I feel like if it was, it would have happened by now. But who knows? But yeah, it's bizarre and it's distressing. And I feel for anyone that had to tell their kid about the trade this morning, and I know we're getting like melodramatic again, like I feel for that. I mean, like we said, like our phones were blowing up like somebody died. Like it was just no one. It's just a shell shock. It's crazy. And like I said, I think we all can eventually get to the point where if they felt like the conditioning, maturity, diet, if that stuff pissed them off enough to want to trade him, I'm not in the practice. All I see are the games. I don't go to the arena. I don't go to practices. I don't talk to people that know things about the team besides, talking to our friends, our media friends, but I don't talk to actual people that work for the team. I don't see everything, there could be stuff happening that we just don't know. And that's the part that I always try to give some benefit of the doubt. So, okay, like you said, you wrap your head around, I don't agree with this reason, but it is a reason. Then to do that, and then this is how you respond to that is just, it's baffling. Like the Lakers still have drafted, like how do you trade Luka Doncic to a team and not exhaust that other team's draft ammunition? How do they not have Austin Reeves? How do they not have one more first round pick? How do they not have like 4 pick swaps in the 2030s? Which, by the way, you could do pick swaps like forever. There's no rules against pick swaps, I don't think. Like,
yes.
How do you not get that? Because if Luka, this is why we thought Luka wanted to go, because it's like this trade must be so bad because the Lakers had the Mavericks over a barrel because Luka said, I'm not going to go anywhere but LA. But if that's not the case, how do you not tell LA, look, we actually want to do this because we're over Luka. We don't want to be in the Luka Doncic business anymore. Like if LA counter, okay, we'll do Anthony Davis and a first rounder and yada yada. If the Mavericks say no, we want a first and 2 pick swaps, LA is not saying no.
Rob Pelinka thought it was a joke. Like, just cannot. Like, there's a reason that we haven't bitched about the Lakers at all in this, even though we're kind of a anti-Lakers group in a sense because we're just sassy. I didn't even have my light turned on the whole time. Sorry, guys. The Lakers are all my Lakers friends are like, how did this happen? Like, I'm so sorry. Yada yada. Like, there's a sense of real like what happened here. And what has happened here is pretty clear. A man has a vision. A man like this guy has total control. Because we talked about this in the podcast today. Someone was like, if Patrick Dumont laughed, which is what's been reported when Nico suggested this, and then went along with
reported. That's what Nico said in his presser today.
What this means, and Nico knows this. And guys, if you've not been in a managerial situation where you're either above or below in a situation like this, Nico is now out on his own. This is his. He wears it. And if it doesn't work, he's fucked. He knows it. And that's why. So it's like.
And also, I don't think he doesn't care because he has so many fallback plans. Like, if he gets fired.
He won't work in basketball after this, if this doesn't work. Feel pretty confident about that.
Maybe he'll get a job in the Lakers front office.
Maybe, or go back to shoes. Like, is K-Swiss doing something? Can he, what about Keds? Are there options for Nico out there? I don't really care. But the thing is like, Dumont now can look at this and you don't hide. This is the thing that Mark Cuban poisoned people's brains about. Okay. Mark Cuban should have hired people that he trusted to execute. And then when they bring him decisions, if he disagrees with those decisions, at that point you fire the person. That was what Mark Cuban never did. The people that work for you in a managerial structure, and this is how I do things at Mavs Moneyball. If someone brings me something and I don't want them to do it, then they should take their work elsewhere because it means that I don't have their trust. So Patrick Dumont, Nico has his trust. That's the point. And you could argue that he's earned it, which is which is a good thing. But now he's out here living on this decision. That's what it's made. And here, the thing is really important. And Josh and I are circling around this. We're almost done. We got to get going, both of us. The Mavericks have to be good now. Mm-hmm. They have to figure this out in the next 15 games, or this is going to self-combust. Kyrie Irving, by a lot of accounts, you're starting to see whispers, is not happy.
Did you look at the goddamn bench today? No one looked happy.
If this doesn't come together quickly, this goes down as one of the biggest sports catastrophes in history.
Yeah.
We were so excited about Luka 7 years ago because I knew, I don't know if you knew at the time, but I knew how special he was. I believed how special he was. And they fucked this up. They fucked up the biggest gift in sports, luck.
Literally went from Dirk to Luka with no in between.
Hubris.
Yep. Yeah. If Anthony Davis, he's supposed to come back by all accounts in about a week or so, maybe about a week. If he comes back and they like lose 4 out of the first 5 games that he plays in, it's over.
And make no mistake. I want to be clear about
this.
this. If this works out, I'll come in here and issue a total apology. I did about Kyrie. I was wrong about Kyrie the first time. If this works out, I'll shut the fuck up and take my medicine and go along with it because I am a Mavs fan. I'm a Mavs fan. I'm not one of you weirdo internet people who attaches myself to a particular player and follows them around like a sick puppy. I don't
think you should apologize though for the part about the betrayal of the fan, like hurting the fan base part. Like regardless of if they win, that happened. That's irreversible.
No, this is like there's something that's irrevocably broken in me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I've been thinking about this all day. Like I'm cold fury, and it like makes it hard to like. You and I've had to talk about this. Are we gonna like this hurts us in a tangible way? And you know we don't want to go into that again. But it's like it's just really upsetting. So we'll see where they go from here, man. They got to get this right.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely, man.
Remove all the emotion about it. I swear I know this is a terrible thing to say when we're trying to get out of here because this might be like a topic in itself. Take all the emotion out of it, all that stuff. Just look at the basketball part of it. It doesn't even make that much sense on the court because the Mavericks have now they have three starting caliber centers. Davis, Gafford, Lively. Davis wants to play power forward, but he's best as a 5. Nico said in the presser that he will be closing a lot of games at the 5. So now you've got 3 guys that play one position that can't really share the floor that much together. They will start Davis and they will start one of the other starters. With PJ Washington as your 3.
He's not 3. PJ's a modern 4.
They have no spacing. Like they did not need size and rim protection. That was one of the strengths of the roster right now was their size and their paint the way that they could guard the paint. All the things that Davis brings, they needed it from maybe a guard or a forward. They didn't need it from a big because they have 2 guys that already do it. So if they don't and you know what's going to happen? They're going to flip Gafford or Lively for one of Jimmy Butler or Zach LaVine. I think this week, and if they don't do that, if this is the roster they have, they don't make another trade to bring in a starting level guard to start, an offensive creating perimeter player to start next to Kyrie. This is a weird ass roster, and it doesn't make sense to me. Even if Davis and Luka were equals, and you're like, okay, fair trade, but I don't understand they didn't need Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
That's the part that's kind of weird about it. Not to say that Anthony Davis is not good. He's very good. He's playing probably like a top 10 player in the league right now. He's had a very great season, but his strengths overlap what the Mavericks already have.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's where we are. Okay. I'll do another show maybe tomorrow night. I've slept like probably 4 hours in the past.
Yeah. We got to rest. We got to reboot.
We got to rest, and we'll continue to have, if you listen, I appreciate the new subs. This is going to be a tough road. We'll get through it, maybe, or we won't.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man. Thanks so much for spending time with us, guys. This has been Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. Pod Maverick After Dark. We will talk with you guys soon. Go Mavs.